Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to LA Ballers. Today we have a very special episode. It's going to be our LA Ballers weekly podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Lena is here, and today I am with a lovely co-host standing at 5'9" from Detroit, Michigan. We have Matthew Young.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for having me, Ryan. Super happy to be here. Really excited for today's episode. Got some really good content to cover.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us, Matt. And Matt's going to be our co-host for every episode here. He has the brains when it comes to football, the NFL, all things NFL. The go-to guy is definitely Matt. Before we begin, we're going to do some brief introductions. But first, we'll talk about what LA Ballers is and what this podcast will be about. So LA Ballers, we do plan on talking, having a podcast every week, mainly talking about the NFL, football, the draft, free agency, trades, everything of that nature. How often we'll be posting it? Like I said, every Wednesday. And next, we are going to get a brief overview of Matt Young's life and his favorite sport, hobbies, everything like that. So take it away, Matt.
All right. Well, thank you, Ryan, for that awesome introduction. Super honored to be able to do this with you. Thank you so much for that opportunity. But yeah, we'll just go ahead and dive right into it. So I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. That's where I was born. But I like to say I'm from Detroit, Michigan, because that's where I spent a majority of my childhood. While I was out there, when I was younger, growing up, sports was like really big in my life. It still is today. But, going way back, like I just remember being so excited to just, get out of school and be able to play some football with my friends out back and just be able to talk about football, football being like that one sport that I connected with the most. Was pretty into baseball and hockey as well, but football was the one that really grew on me throughout the years. But yeah, since then, growing up, getting older, I've always wanted to head out west. Made my way out here to the West Coast. Went to college, studied graphic design at Southern New Hampshire University. Was able to get my bachelor's in graphic design and media arts. I've always had an eye for art. I've since then picked up a passion for collecting. I'm super into collecting comic books, anything Star Wars related, statues, anything of that nature. It's just something about the art that's behind it. It's really cool and really neat to be able to see where a lot of these films nowadays come from. A lot of them do tend to come from the comics. Like I said earlier, super big Star Wars fan. So with all this Disney content coming out with all these new movies and shows, I'm super excited about it. Just being, down the street from Disneyland and Galaxy's Edge. It's closed right now, but going to check that stuff out is always like super exciting. Being able to look forward to that, being able to be in that environment is something that's always been really cool. But aside from that, from those hobbies, I'm super into working out. So if I'm not working, I try to stay active for the most part. I'm really into like heavy lifting and whatnot. But yeah, that's pretty much about it in terms of hobbies. Super excited to be on the show with Ryan here. Ready to talk about sports.
Yes, sir. And there you have it. That's Matt Young for everyone. Definitely Matt Young is a hard worker, especially when it comes to working out. I definitely have to get started to work out soon. But for me, at least, a brief overview is I'm a big-time sports fan. My favorite sports, basketball growing up. The Los Angeles Lakers were definitely my favorite basketball team because of Kobe Bryant. Rest in peace to the Black Mamba. I also love football. And when it comes to football, I'm a little bit newer when it comes to football. Matt's been a big football fan his entire life. Growing up, I didn't really have a football team. I watched a lot of football teams like the Saints with Drew Brees, Peyton Manning with the Colts. But I didn't have a football team until the Rams moved back to Los Angeles. And I just decided to be a Rams fan because I'm a big Dodger fan, love baseball, love the Lakers, obviously, and why not love the Rams as well. And I was very happy when they first moved here. And now they're actually a really good team. You have to be when you're in the city of LA, city of champions. But other hobbies as well. I like to collect, just like Matt. I collect sports cards. I recently got back into that. Growing up, I collected sports cards, but I never really took care of them. I only looked for certain players. I didn't know that rookie cards were valuable back then. But now I do collect a bunch of sports cards, mainly rookie cards from this year's draft class and the previous year. I also started collecting Pokemon cards too. I never really collected them when I was younger, but I did play the video games. I collected them for a little bit, but I'm more leaning towards the sports cards since I know more about that topic rather than Pokemon. But definitely both hobbies is very fun. So if you want to get started in collecting something, definitely if you're a sports fan, do cards. Pokemon fan, go with the Pokemon cards as well. But we'll get into the podcast. Enough waiting, enough talking about ourselves, and we're gonna talk about our first topic. Will be addressing our football teams. I'm a big Rams fan. Matt is a big Detroit Lions fan since he's from Detroit, Michigan. So first, we're just gonna do a quick overview on what had happened during the offseason with the Rams trading for Matthew Stafford and in exchange for Jared Goff, which he'll be sent to the Lions for a first round draft pick. So let's go with Matt first and see what his thoughts are of the trade going down. So go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, if you guys haven't been staying on top of all the stuff that's going on in the off season, there's been a lot of changes in management from quite a few teams actually throughout the NFL. The Lions and Rams being a couple of those teams. So, as Ryan was saying, definitely a super big football fan. I've been following the Lions for quite some time now. Haven't had too much to cheer about, but hey, I mean, you got to stay loyal to your team. And yeah, I mean, day in and day out, super excited to watch them. I've been following the offseason pretty closely. With this first topic, with the Lions and the Rams making that blockbuster trade not too long ago, sending Stafford to the Rams and Goff heading over to Detroit, as well as 2 future first-round picks in that trade, as well as a current 2021, I believe it was a 3rd-round pick. The Rams, they're trying to win. They've been trying to win now. They're in win-now mode. I think getting Stafford in this trade deal was definitely something that they were really excited about. And the Lions are changing course with management, new head coach, new general manager, from the top to the bottom, defensive coordinators, offensive coordinators. We've been switching things up a lot this offseason, and I hate to say it, but we are now entering that rebuilding phase, and this trade was the trade that really revealed that to me and all the other Lions fans out there. So super exciting to see this. I was pretty shocked. I mean, Stafford's been with Detroit for the past 12 years or so, and when I was a kid, younger, growing up, I looked up to Stafford, and he was that quarterback for our team where I knew when he was going out there, he was going to give it his all, and I didn't have to worry about it. I knew that he was going to go out there and perform to the best of his ability, and I'm super happy with what he did while he was in Detroit. So yeah, I back him up. I support him. It's sad to see him go, but he's going to a good team, and I'm excited to see him do well over there.
Perfect. And just before I give my thoughts, just wanted to hear your opinion about this. Do you believe in Jared Goff as the future quarterback of the Detroit Lions, Matt?
That's a great question there, Ryan. At first, even when Goff was with the Los Angeles Rams, I wasn't too excited with his the way he performed. I didn't follow him too closely, but watching some tape on him and seeing the amount of experience he does have, I think him coming over to Detroit, changes scenery. He's no longer under the the big lights over there in LA, and I think there's a good chance that he can settle in. I think a lot of it has to do with chemistry, team chemistry. So the ways he's able to connect with the offensive coordinator and the head coach, going with their vision and seeing what kind of offense will be run. There's still a lot of stuff that's unfolding, especially we'll see a little bit more of that when camp starts. But I do feel like Goff has potential. I think that he's still pretty young. I believe he's like 26 now. So he has put in some years in the NFL. I mean, he's made it to a Super Bowl, so he does have that experience that he can carry with him. I mean, making it that far, obviously it's a team effort, but I do feel like Goff still does have a little bit of room to grow. But seeing him develop into the scheme here in Detroit could be really exciting. I don't know if Detroit's still trying to get like a younger QB out of the draft either this year or next year. I believe we have Goff for, was it like 2 years for sure? Like 2 years on that contract?
I think so, with a big contract too.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, the Rams were able to unload that contract a little bit, and we picked it up. So yeah, that part, not super excited about that part, but I'm willing to give him a chance, and I'm excited to see like what he's able to do here in Detroit. Because I remember watching some of his tape in college. Man, he was something else. So we'll see if he can try to bring some of that back, some of that gameplay. I know he's got it in him, so we'll see. What are your thoughts, Ryan, on the big trade and getting a guy like Stafford over there in LA?
Definitely. I love it. I'm super excited, and thank you again, Matt, for your thoughts. It sounded like he's going to be a future general manager one day, a head coach for the NFL. But for me, as a Rams fan, I'm super excited. I love Jared Goff at one point. Not this season, but when he did take us to the Super Bowl, he was a good quarterback. I just had a problem with him in terms of him not being able to throw deep. I felt like this season especially, it really showed that he doesn't have that arm strength, unlike Stafford, who has an insane arm strength. But Jared Goff, we ran a lot of plays, just run plays, screen passes, short passing. That's because he doesn't have that arm strength, and that's what we lacked. And if he had that arm strength, we would have at least gone deeper in the playoffs. And it showed too against Green Bay Packers when we lost. He can't play in the cold weather, and that's very important when you're in the NFC. The Rams are in an NFC, and the teams that you see once you go farther in the playoffs are usually cold weather teams. Green Bay, what is it called? What other teams are Green Bay?
Yeah,
New
Green
York,
Bay,
Chicago, New York.
Minnesota.
One day it'll be New York. One day Minnesota, Philly, but that's what I'm excited about. It's just that now we have a quarterback who has that arm strength, who's a proven quarterback. It's sad to see that his talents didn't really pay off, because I don't think he's ever won a playoff game in his entire career, Matthew Stafford. But we're ready. Sean McVay's ready, our head coach. Our receivers are going to have a field day out there with Matthew Stafford. I hope he stays healthy, because I know Matthew Stafford has played a lot of games and not missed a lot. But hopefully he stays healthy. That way we can go deep into the season, hopefully go to the Super Bowl, because with Matthew Stafford, the only missing piece that we have for our team is definitely the quarterback position, because we have an up and rising Cam Akers at running back. We have a great defense. Personally, in my opinion, we have the number one defense in the league. Aaron Donald in the front lines, and our secondary is really good too with Jalen Ramsey. So we're ready. That's what we're missing. That's the missing ingredient, I think, in Sean McVay's offense. I feel like we'll go to the Super Bowl this year. Hopefully we can beat the Buccaneers, because I think they're still the favorites to win. Even though Tom Brady's getting older, but his game isn't. But yeah, that's my thoughts as a Rams fan. Very excited. Can't wait for the next game in SoFi Stadium. Hopefully they open it this season, because I did ask Matt, since the Lions are going to play at SoFi Stadium against the Rams, hopefully we can watch it together if they're open again. So that'll be my first ever professional football game.
Yeah, that would be awesome. A couple of things I wanted to add on this Stafford and Goff here. So both of them happen to get drafted first overall in their respective draft classes. So Stafford back in 2009, first overall. You got Goff going first overall in the 2016 draft. So these are guys, coming out of college. These guys know how to play the game, and these teams went high on them, And Stafford obviously a little bit older than Goff, coming in at 32. He's ready to win now, and I feel like the Rams, the way you describe that team, from the back end on defense, to offense, that the coaching, Sean McVay. You guys are ready to win, and so is Stafford. So I do believe, I support you on that. That whole team, the whole scouting, everyone over there, like Ramsey on the back end of things. Like you guys are holding it down on defense with Aaron Donald. The guy's a beast. You guys do not have a whole lot to worry about. As long as Stafford stays healthy, you guys got that nice young running back out there in the backfield at Cam Akers. You guys got some exciting stuff going on over there. Over here in Detroit, Brad Holmes, he actually worked with the Rams for quite some time before bringing him on as a GM recently. He was the Rams scouting director. He was super high on Goff, actually, so he's really familiar with Goff. So there is that connection. So, I feel like it has a lot to do with this trade, and I do feel like Holmes is comfortable bringing Goff over here. Getting like that veteran QB, that presence, still having like that veteran leadership behind the O-line is very important. Got a young guy in DeAndre Swift, super excited about him. I remember the first game of the season last year, drop pass was the determining factor in that game there. But moving past that, you got the rookie jitters going. It happens, but like the kid's got a lot of promise. I feel like he's super explosive. I feel like if there's anything that they can do to try to get him involved, like the Saints do in Kamara, it's going to be really exciting to watch. He's super good out of the backfield, really good with his hands, really quick and explosive. So really excited to have him back there. T.J. Hawkinson's starting to wake up. I feel like he's got a lot of good games in the future ahead of him. He's playing, definitely gotten a lot better since his previous years recently. I do feel like if they're able to use him and utilize him, like, take a look at the Chiefs with Travis Kelce over there, beast. Get this young guy, he's big frame, get him involved. Do some play actions. The team's not, defenses are not going to know what to expect. I'm not sure what's going on with Galladay. It's some sad stuff right there. I mean, I was really excited with him, but there's a lot of uncertainty there. Marvin Jones. So our receiving core, it's lacking. I do feel like they're going to make some moves in the offseason with the draft coming up. But I do feel like if we can surround Goff with some weapons, there should be some opportunities to really see what they can do with this offense. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of exciting stuff going on so far in the offseason. So only time will tell what ends up happening. So
Definitely. And one last comment on this topic. The Lions definitely have a bright future because Jared Goff is still a growing player. He still has many opportunities as a quarterback. He'll be a starter in this league for sure, in my opinion. But definitely, like Matt was saying, the Rams are in a win-now mode. We did trade away all of our first-round picks, I believe, for the next 7 years. So no first-rounders. That means they're in win-now mode. But those first-rounders that they traded for, they got Jalen Ramsey in part of that trade. So it's definitely paying off. So I believe if the Rams don't win a Super Bowl in the next few years, it would be a bust because every season they're shooting for the Super Bowl ring there. So, that's my thoughts for the Rams. Those are Matt's thoughts for the Lions. So we're going to move on to our next topic. This is the most trending topic as of now, in my opinion, in the National Football League, and that is the Russell Wilson trade rumors. Biggest question is, what uniform will he wear in the 2021 season? What do you think, Matt?
very exciting topic, Ryan. I'm glad we're covering this one because there is a lot of talk about Mr. Wilson over there in Seattle, possibly heading to a different destination, a different home out there. I feel like, with all these rumors circulating, seeing him wear a different jersey in the 2021 season is just so surreal to me. I can't get my head around it. I don't think it's going to happen. If I'm being completely honest with you, I don't think it's going to happen. I do think he's going to suit up. He's going to be a Seattle Seahawk next year. But if he were to be traded, if he were to go to a different team, which teams would be the teams that would, be able to, run with Wilson and pick him up as their quarterback? There's a couple teams out there that are looking, quarterback hungry. Uh, what are your opinions on Russell Wilson heading out, and like what teams would be interested in picking him up?
For me, I definitely think he's gonna stay in Seattle. I just don't think it makes sense for the Seahawks to trade him away. They are deteriorating a little bit. I don't know if his relationship with Pete Carroll is still as good as it was back then, because they did lose to the Rams in the playoffs. I felt like, as a Rams fan, I felt like we were going to lose that game, but for some reason, Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson, and the Seahawks fell apart that game. So maybe they have that bad relationship right now, but that can always be fixed. That's why I think he's going to remain in Seattle. But in my opinion, the team that should go for him, as I was looking at the trade rumors, I saw a big team that I saw was the Saints. And I understand Drew Brees re-signed with the New Orleans Saints, and they also have Jameis Winston. But for me, as the New Orleans Saints, they have great talent. Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas. They have those big receivers and obviously running back. I don't know how the financials are going to work. I don't know who they would trade for. But for me, I would love to see Russell Wilson in the Saints jersey, because I'm rooting for the Saints just because they have the talent already there. Drew Brees is getting older. He's not the same Drew Brees as it was before. And it would be great to see Russell Wilson as a starting quarterback for the Saints and Drew Brees as the backup for one last year. Make one last Super Bowl run for Drew Brees. And Sean Payton's a great coach, too, for the Saints. And I feel like Sean Payton will definitely coach Russell Wilson very well. The reason I picked the Saints, too, because I don't see Russell Wilson playing for San Francisco. I believe another quarterback will go to San Francisco. And just because that's an NFC West rival for them. So I think if he's going to go to a different team, it should be the Saints. I think it's the most practical for Russell Wilson. There are other teams out there, but on the practicality standpoint, I feel like the Saints should go for this trade if they need to upgrade quarterback position.
Very good, very good. Yeah, I back you up on that one. I do feel like the Saints could definitely get a lot out of Wilson. Drew Brees, is it confirmed that he's coming back again for one more year, or is he?
From what I heard, he's signing a 1 year minimum contract. Let me double check. That's what I last saw. Let's see. Actually, at this point, correction, there hasn't been a minimum contract. I did see an article a while back that he was going to take a pay cut to remain a Saint. But there's an article 6 hours ago by the New York Post that there's retirement speculation on Drew Brees. So if Drew Brees does retire, I say the Saints should go for Russell Wilson. The asking price will definitely be high. If they have to lose Kamara or Michael Thomas, I may have to suggest Michael Thomas just because Kamara is a very talented player, and Michael Thomas did get injured last year. So I would definitely go for Russell Wilson and trade maybe Michael Thomas away and a few future first rounders and other assets. But yeah, Drew Brees looks like he might retire.
Yeah,
So
I don't know if you
Matt.
remember
What do you
watching
think?
that last game in the playoffs. Drew Brees against the Bucks, walking off the field, that last look back, at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That right there said it all to me. But you never know. I mean, look at Gronkowski. He's coming out of retirement, playing the game again. He's got another ring, just like that. Drew Brees, it's kind of sad to see him go like this. I feel like he's still got it in him. And I do want to see him return. And, on the contrary, if Wilson doesn't get traded and, Drew Brees comes back, I do think that's very exciting. I feel like I want to see Drew Brees return to that, midseason form, throwing those bombs downfield. Got a guy like Michael Thomas, go ahead and use him like that. As long as he stays healthy again, like you mentioned there with his health. But, yeah, I mean, a couple other teams that could be interested in Wilson. I mean, the Bears, Raiders, Pats, Washington, the Jets. I mean, I'm not so sure about the Jets and Washington. I think Russell Wilson's trying to go to a team who's ready to win. So, the Saints are able to offer that. I feel like the Pats, they got that great coaching and development staff over there with Belichick. They're also looking for a quarterback. I don't think they're necessarily in that ready to win now mode that Russell Wilson's looking for, but I mean, yeah, the Saints is probably the spot. But I really do, I feel like the Seahawks try to rekindle things with Wilson. You got a guy like DK Metcalf, still very young, but he does have a lot of promise, heading down the road. I feel like he's got great potential. But Seattle's defense is just not what it was. It's not what it used to be. And, those times when Russell Wilson and the offense, they're not able to pick things up, the defense has to be there to back them up. And I feel like, as of late, it just hasn't been as explosive.
Definitely. I would have to agree with you there. And there are a lot of teams that can that's suitable for Russell Wilson. But Russell Wilson will probably want to go to a win now team. But other than Russell Wilson, there's also another quarterback on the trade market, and that is Deshaun Watson. Now, let's keep in mind, Deshaun Watson can be traded, but he also has a no-trade clause in part of his contract, so it's going to be a little bit tricky here. The Houston Texans have to agree to trade with a team, and also Deshaun Watson has to say yes. Deshaun Watson does have that no-trade clause, so whichever team he gets traded to, he has to say yes, which makes it super tricky for the Houston Texans. So where do you think he will land, Matt?
Let's see. Before getting into that, there is still a good chance that the Texans refuse to trade Watson. I do feel like Watson does want out. I think if he were to go to a team, if the Texans were to trade him, I think he would do really well in Miami. Now, that would require Tua to be traded. The Texans would be getting a young quarterback who is going to be developing. I feel like he was, what was he drafted, like number 3 out of the draft last year?
So I know he's a high draft pick
High
for sure,
drafted
Tua.
For Tua. And I feel like Watson going over to a team like Miami, with his strengths that he can bring to that team, being very versatile and explosive. The Miami Dolphins, with that defense of theirs, finishing in the top 5. They got some good talent over there. That's always an option. So that's the Dolphins. I could also see him going to, let's see, possibly the Raiders. Not super high on that one, but I know the Raiders aren't too happy with Derek Carr right now. Other than that, there's always the Saints if things don't work out with Russell Wilson. The Pats, I could honestly see him going to the Patriots. And if he goes to the Patriots, that'll be pretty exciting because, things obviously didn't work out with Cam Newton. It's kind of sad to see that. I was pretty excited to see what he would be able to do there. Things just didn't work out when he was in New England, but you get a guy like Watson, could completely change the way they're doing things over there. But yeah, I don't really see him going to the Bears. Let's see, Jets are looking. I don't know if the Jets are trying to roll with Sam Darnold, but I think Watson's kind of over like that, the losing culture. He's trying to go to a team that's flip the script, try to win some games, but there's a good chance that they refuse to let him go, and that would be very unfortunate. So I'm not sure what that would look like if Watson would be sitting out, taking a pay cut to sit out of those games. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. What are your thoughts on this one, Ryan?
Deshaun Watson will say no to a number of those teams, like the Jets especially. Will say no. I have 3 teams that I believe that he may end up going to. And this is the specific order. I hate to say it, but I believe he might end up in San Francisco. Jimmy G's time there is over. He was overpaid by San Francisco. He's not as talented as he was supposed to be. So that division would definitely be packed with talented quarterbacks in Kyler Murray, Matthew Stafford, Deshaun Watson maybe. And if Russell Wilson stays in Seattle, it's going to be the craziest division out there in terms of quarterback talent. Next would be New England Patriots. New England Patriots is definitely a team you can't count out Bill Belichick. Now that is also a tricky situation. Um, a deal that I would believe would happen is they would trade away their draft pick this year, um, in exchange with additional talent to make the finances work. But I believe if they can't get Deshaun Watson, Cam Newton is done in Foxborough. The Patriots will draft a quarterback maybe and increase their talent that way. But Bill Belichick is not the type of head coach that goes to rebuilding. I personally, if I was the Patriots GM, I would not make Bill Belichick go through a rebuilding season, because why would you waste a coach's talent like that? I would definitely go all hands on deck for either Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson. And finally, the third team that I believe Deshaun Watson will go to is the Miami Dolphins. Like Matt said, they're a top 5 defense. They have talent ready. Fitzpatrick, he won a few games for them. Tua will be a great quarterback one day, but they can win now. And if you can win now in Miami, do it now. Especially with a proven quarterback like Deshaun Watson, why not? And I don't think he's going to remain a Texan. Their relationship is broken in Houston. J.J. Watt is gone. Deshaun Watson will also be gone. So that's what I think where Deshaun Watson will go. I hate to say it, but I think he's going to end up in San Francisco. Those are all my thoughts with Deshaun Watson. Do you have any other additional thoughts, Matt?
No, aside from that, I mean, he's got a lot of strengths that he's going to bring to, if he ends up going to a different team out there. He's got a very strong arm, very elusive running back, or very elusive quarterback. Able to scramble. He's got great vision. I feel like he's gotten a lot better with his decision making as of late, and I feel like he's very aggressive out there. So he'll go through his reads. If his first read isn't there, he'll make you look one way and he'll go the other way. And I feel like Deshaun Watson, very explosive player, got all those good strengths. A very versatile quarterback who makes defenses think, and we've seen what he can do. And he was playing last year without a guy like Hopkins. Playing with a guy. They had Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, David Johnson, kind of on and off. But you put him on a team that's got some more weapons on the outside. I think that's all the help he needs. Just make sure you protect him, and it'd be crazy to see what this guy can do. So, yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what'll happen here. He's definitely not too happy in Houston right now.
Definitely. Deshaun Watson is gone from Houston. Sad to see. They did have very close games out there in the playoffs especially. But moving on to our other former Texan, J.J. Watt. He's in free agency right now. He was bought out by the Houston Texans. It was a mutual buyout. He didn't want to be in Texans. He didn't want to be in Houston anymore. And I really thought he was going to retire Texan, personally. But there are some teams that will be shooting for him. Keep in mind, he does have his siblings in Pittsburgh. They may go for him as well. But as of now, he's projected to cost around $17 million a year. He was scheduled to make $18 million a year in Houston. So first question is, Matt, do you think he's worth the $17 million at his age?
The price tag, I do feel like there is a lot of concern considering his injury history. There was a time in the 2016 season where he suffered injuries to 5 torn muscles, including a herniated disc, torso, groin, upper legs before that 2016 season. Again, a fractured leg in 2017, which was a season-ending injury. Ended up having surgery on that one. And then missed 8 games in 2019 with a torn pectoral muscle. But if you take a look at some of his stats when he's played full seasons, you cut those seasons out and you look at the broad picture. He's had some seasons where he's played all 16 games. And in his most recent full season, that being 2020, J.J. Watt put up 52 tackles, total tackles, 5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 fumble recovery. Compare that to his one of the other full seasons that he's played back in 2018. Uh, Putting that into comparison, he had 61 total tackles, so about a couple more tackles than he had than last season. But this is where it gets interesting. 16 sacks. Think about that one.
Wow.
Let that one resonate for a little bit.
That's a lot of sacks.
That's 11 more sacks than
Practically
he had.
sacked half of the quarterbacks in the league at that point.
Yep. There's some guys out there that only get a few sacks a season, but 16? Dang. 7 forced fumbles. Crazy, man. This guy's a beast, and like he shows it, man. He definitely does show it. So, I mean, we might have seen a little bit of regression moving forward recently, but I do feel like this is a guy that can definitely become one of those dominant forces on anyone's team, on that defensive line. So I do feel like,
Definitely.
with that risk involved, I do still feel like there are some positive takeaways from landing a guy like J.J. Watt. This guy is a phenomenal role model. He's got, plays with a great character. On and off the field, he's done a lot of things for the city of Houston. I feel like, whatever city he ends up going to is going to be getting some, not just a great player, but also like a great guy, from the ins and outs of everything that he's done in Houston, including the Hurricane Harvey event back in 2017. Was playing an away game when he found out the news and wanted to head back as soon as he could to help them out. Was able to raise $200,000 with a fundraiser. Was able to match the first $100,000, and they ended up bringing in more than $41 million in that effort to help them out with that hurricane recovery. Very inspirational for the younger kids looking up to him that are playing football, impacting the lives of thousands. And I feel like being in Houston for nearly a decade, I feel like it's gonna be tough losing a guy like J.J. Watt, but I feel like with where he's at in his career right now, he's ready to win as well. So we've been talking about a lot of these talents out there right now in the NFL that they're hungry to win. And I feel like, there are quite a few teams out there that could use a guy like J.J. Watt. So, what's your take on this, on the price tag, man?
With the big price tag that he comes with, I don't think you're only paying for his talents. He's very talented, an amazing player. His hustle is amazing. He's a hard worker. But the $17 million price tag also includes the impact that he'll have on your team. The amount of work he puts towards this game that he loves will also translate to other players as well, especially on the defensive side of things. He'll push his teammates to get better. He'll push his teammates to practice harder and work harder during the games. Because if you watch the way he plays, it doesn't matter if it's the first game of the season. It doesn't matter if it's the 16th game of the season and there's no chance of winning in the playoffs or going to the playoffs. This guy works as hard as he can. He still goes for the sacks no matter how many points are down, because that's just the way J.J. Watt plays. So you'll get his talents for $17 million, but you'll also get an upgrade for your other players who are young, veterans as well. But the younger players especially will help J.J. Watt get better. Now, I feel like J.J. Watt may lead to a team that's a young team so they can help them develop. I don't think J.J. Watt minds to be on a team where they don't win, because he doesn't care about winning as much as he cares about just playing the game that he loves. So in my opinion, he's probably going to end up in a team where they're young, they're developing. I would love to see him personally. These are winning teams, though. I would love to see him in Green Bay. I've seen rumors about that. I feel like it's time for Aaron Rodgers to get another shot for a Super Bowl. And he has a great offense. I feel like defensively, they should maybe work on the defensive line. And adding J.J. Watt would be amazing for them. Maybe add him to the Chicago Bears with Khalil Mack and J.J. Watt. That would be a crazy, crazy defense. They do need to upgrade their quarterback position in order to compete in the playoffs or even reach the playoffs. But maybe the Bears or maybe a little family reunion over in Pittsburgh to play with his brothers. So I don't know how the financials will work in Pittsburgh because they still have to pay Big Ben as I know it right now. So definitely either Pittsburgh, Chicago, or Green Bay. If he doesn't end up in those teams, that's because a young team wouldn't mind paying that price tag. Also, add on seats in the stadium, ticket sales once the stadiums open up again. So that's what I think. What are your thoughts, Matt? Where do you think he may end up?
Yeah, I'm right there with you on the Packers. I feel like the Packers they got some missing pieces there in Green Bay, and we saw Aaron Rodgers' frustration after that game, after that playoffs. Walking away with that L, very frustrating. The guy like Rodgers performing at the level that he's been performing at, I feel like he's got to be able to walk away with a little bit more. It's just they're so close. You bring in a guy like J.J. Watt off the end there, just putting consistent pressure on the opposing quarterbacks. It creates, this is a guy that creates turnovers. You create a turnover, you put the ball back in Rodgers' hands like that. That's lethal, man. That's stuff that you turn the tide of the game just like that, and you got a quarterback like Rodgers. A lot of crazy things can happen. Unfortunately, J.J. Watt heading over to Green Bay does no good for me over here in Detroit. But if that's where he's happy, then that's where he's happy. A few other teams on my radar that you didn't mention that I'm just gonna go ahead and throw in there. The Cleveland Browns. Imagine him, matching up with Myles Garrett. Oh man, that would.
In the dog pound too.
Man, and like the Browns, man, they got something brewing over there. So I feel like that's a sleeper for me. I do feel like that's a team that's still developing, but they're competing. They're competing in the playoffs now, and there's a lot of good stuff going on over there. I feel like the Steelers, reuniting with his brother, that could be pretty neat. The Titans, I feel like they're still kind of looking for some pieces on defense. That's another team that's been competing at a high level in the playoffs, as well as the Bills. So, if I had to see him, head out of Houston, I feel like he would be the best fit for either Green Bay or Cleveland. If I had to narrow it down to two teams right there. So, I do feel like, just like you said, he's a great all-around player. Everything that he does it, for the greater good of the team. This is not a selfish player. This is a guy who's going to help his team any way he can, and he's going to put it out there all on the field. So, anyone who gets this guy is, they're going to get a great guy, and great character, great role model for the city. Awesome stuff right there.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you. I love the Cleveland Browns with J.J. Watt. Forgot about that. But having him with Myles Garrett, defensive line, I wouldn't want to be the offensive lineman at that point. Honestly, you wouldn't have time as a quarterback to stay in the pocket. I would scramble.
Forget it.
So good luck to those teams. Good luck to the Ravens. Everybody in the AFC. Patrick Mahomes. We saw what happened there in the Super Bowl. And as we transition to our last topic of today, if you're still with us, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching if you're on YouTube. But our last topic for today, we are going to recap the Super Bowl for a little bit. Bucks versus Chiefs. Tom Brady wins his 7th ring. And the biggest question is, how long do you think he'll go for, Matt? How many more seasons and how many more years will he add onto his resume? And do you think he'll win another ring or two?
Oh, Brady. Look at him go. This guy's something else. There's a lot of doubters, a lot of haters out there. Like, oh, man, here he goes, going to Tampa Bay now. Like, is he going to win a ring? Is he going to bring success to this team just like that? Well, look at this, Rewind a little bit back to the most recent season here. He's walking off the field with another ring, man. He's got 7 rings now. He was able to go to this team, Tampa Bay Bucks. He did have a lot of tools over there, like a lot of great tools that for success in that offense, that defense. Arguably, probably one of the top defenses in the league last year. This is a team that was still developing. First couple of games, about 6 games or so. They didn't look too promising, but we all knew that after time, like Tom Brady was going to settle in, which he did, and he plays his best ball in the playoffs, and we saw that. So I feel like he's still got a lot left in the tank. I mean, this is Tom Brady that we're talking about here. If he's playing, on teams that have like that built, teams that are built up around him, great offensive line for that protection and a defense that can back the team up if they're not putting up those points. I feel like there's a great possibility that he could, he needs 3 more rings to fill up all his fingers. I feel like there's a good chance that he could get to that point. But before we get that far, there is always that possibility that he could play for another team. I feel like with the amount of success he had over there in Tampa Bay, I feel like they could just be looking for another repeat. But imagine if he were to go to a team that wasn't as successful. Is he as successful as he is today because of the coaches that he's played with? Or because his team had, was built the right way? A lot of it goes into these wins that Tom Brady had in the Super Bowl. So there is a lot that is kind of dependent on it. If you have like Tom Brady at the helm, like it's kind of hard for a lot of things to go bad. But I do feel like you do need to have everything needs to kind of be like rolling at the same time for things to start clicking for him. But I know he's got a great relationship with Arians over there and was able to get his best bud, Gronkowski, to come out of retirement to play with him. And man, it's just, I can't grasp my mind around it. It's crazy how, just 1 year like that, boom, Super Bowl win. Yep, so what do you think he's trying to do moving forward? I mean, he's 43 years old now. We saw how he played last year. Like, where do you think we go from here? Do you think he, plays another season with the Bucks, or do you think he eventually heads somewhere else? What do you think he'll retire at?
It's very, very difficult to tell when it comes to Tom Brady. You can really tell he loves the game of football. He does want to compete because he is one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now, if not the best. To me, I think he'll stay with the Buccaneers. For me, he's already probably the greatest player of all, the greatest quarterback, greatest player of all time. Actually, scratch that. But what will seal and put it into cement, put it in writing for the rest of our lives, for the rest of the NFL history, is if he wins a ring in Tampa Bay one more time, and he goes for his last year and goes to a team like you were saying who doesn't have winning potential, like the New York Jets, for example. Imagine he goes to the New York Jets and wins a ring there. That'll be 9 rings. Maybe he'll win 2 more and ends his career with a Super Bowl win. 10 rings with 3 different teams. At that point, he's undoubtedly the greatest player of all time in NFL history. That's untouchable. I don't think that record will ever be broken if he ever reaches that. At that point, he would be 46 years old, 47 years old. His age is not a factor right now. I haven't seen it personally, but a 47-year-old retiring with 10 rings with 3 different teams in the future, if he was able to do it, undoubtedly he'll be the greatest of all time. And last question about this topic to Matt. Do you think Tom Brady is the greatest player of all time? And if not, what do you think will cement that for you?
Yeah, that's some good stuff right there, Ryan. Taking that into consideration, I've actually been putting a lot of thought into it lately myself, just because you see it all over the media. Lots of people think that he is the greatest of all time, and there's those on the contrary that believe that a lot of it, things that happened around him played a factor in him becoming so successful. I do feel like, this is a guy who got drafted, what was it, 6th round?
One of the last picks,
Something
yeah,
like that?
6th round, I think.
Really
it was like
late.
188th pick, somewhere around there.
Really late pick. Now, whatever goes on over there in Foxborough, they have a way with these guys that you've never heard of. And next thing you
That's
know,
why Jimmy Garoppolo was amazing. Look at him in San Francisco.
yep. And so a part of it is like, for me personally, I feel like there's a lot of it that goes in it with like the development and the training piece. I feel like there's things that they're doing over there in Foxborough that's just really clicking for that team. And it's not just for one player coming in, one player here and there. It's not like they're bringing in all these star talents, with, the time Tom Brady was there. They were able to get these guys out of college and develop them into the way they play football over there. And I feel like getting a guy like Tom Brady, who wasn't super high on everybody's lists, and then seeing how successful he is now, it's just crazy to me. I do feel like, the more you play in the NFL, the more Tom Brady was able to develop and get better at the game and consistency. The consistency was definitely there. There were a couple Super Bowls. The New York Giants being their kryptonite, unfortunately. But, imagine if things went the other way. He could have 9 rings by now already. But, going back to that initial question you had there, was he the greatest of all time? To me, I think there's still a little bit more he needs to prove. I feel like if he's able to go to a team that is not set up to win now, maybe it takes a year or two. It'd be interesting to see how he does on a team that is not built to win now. Teams being, the Jets obviously being one of them, possibly Washington.
Or Jacksonville, imagine that.
Yeah, Jacksonville. It'd be interesting. I feel like those hypotheticals would be really fun to see how those play out. I highly think that it's probably undoubtedly likely to happen. But if it did, and he did well, and let's say he did get a ring over there or something like that, without a doubt, like you said earlier, definitely the greatest of all time. But I'm not going to rule it out. He's still got a lot left in the tank, so we'll see where it goes from here. I don't think I can give you a yes or no question right now because this is a guy he's done the unimaginable. He's done the unthinkable. He's done things that I didn't think were going to happen. I didn't think that the Patriots are going to walk away with that dub against the Atlanta Falcons in that Super Bowl. That comeback was unreal. So, this guy's got a lot of surprises in his pocket. I feel like he hasn't shown us everything yet. So, this is a guy who makes it super fun to watch the game. Super great guy. Just loves to play the game and great family guy. It's going to be good to see what happens. But I can't give you an answer, yes or no answer on that one just yet, Ryan.
Finally, and just one more thing to talk about. Patrick Mahomes, no protection during the Super Bowl. I felt very, very disappointed because I wanted that Super Bowl to be a high-scoring game, back and forth from Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. Unfortunately, it wasn't. We'll wrap up with this. I just wanted to say there was no protection. How do you feel about that, Matt? Do you blame Mahomes at all in that loss? Because for me, I don't blame him. There's no single ounce of blame that goes towards Patrick Mahomes. He threw unbelievable passes that led to incompletions, but they should have been completed. What do you think, Matt? Do you put any blame on Patrick Mahomes?
No, I'm right there with you on that one as well. I don't feel like the Chiefs were supporting Patrick Mahomes as much as they normally would have throughout the season. The biggest culprit being the lack of protection. Patrick Mahomes was not able to be himself. And the crazy part to me is he still looked like himself under all that duress. All game long. Consistent pressure from the left side, from the right side, the blind side, wherever it was coming from. Patrick Mahomes was still trying to make things happen. And when he did make things happen, his team was not there to pick him up, unfortunately. There were numerous drop passes from guys like Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. It was really sad to see that, and it was actually hard to see that because these are guys that are definitely proven. These guys are these are stars right here. I get it. You're only human. Things happen. you can't win all the time, but I feel like with the situation that they were in, I believe they had some injuries on the O line that they took a big hit. So that could have been why we were seeing a lot more pressure up the middle and off the edges. But seeing Patrick Mahomes scrambling and trying to make things happen, there definitely wasn't a time that he gave up. I feel like he did try to give it his all. I just feel like, his team just kind of let him down a little bit in terms of protection, moving the chains, trying to make plays happen. I feel like with them falling behind, especially in the second half, they were unable to provide a balanced attack. So it was hard to keep the defense guessing. It was very obvious that they were going to be passing, so easier to get pressure on them, easier to present more nickel packages, dime packages, more defensive backs on the field. Made it a lot more challenging for Mahomes to find anyone who was open. If you do watch some of the tape, the Bucs did a great job, covering a lot of their wide receivers. They were stuck onto him like glue. There wasn't a whole lot of separation. But Mahomes didn't have enough time to wait for Tyreek to get open downfield. So let's see, lots of forced throws. So if you're not able to run the ball, you're forcing throws downfield. The clock stops ticking, and then you just give the ball back to the Bucs, and they just keep running the clock out. And unfortunately, the Chiefs weren't able to really do much on defense to stop Brady and go. So I just feel like, just like you said earlier, it would have been really exciting to see this be like a high-scoring game. My projections were all over the place. I was up there. I think it was like something like 31-27 final score I thought it was going to be with the Chiefs coming from behind. But it just did not happen. It just was not their Super Bowl this year. But I feel like they'll be back soon, sooner than we might think.
For sure. Well, thank you so much, Matt, for everything that you've done today, all your insights. Like I said, Matt is an expert when it comes to the National Football League, and I'm more of an expert when it comes to the NBA. So I learn a lot from Matt, and I'm also learning as we go. But that wraps it up for today's podcast. Thank you, everyone who are still listening. Thank you to everyone watching on YouTube. Like I said, we do plan on uploading a podcast once a week, mainly about the NFL. So this Wednesday, this video will be uploaded. And next Wednesday, hopefully, we'll be talking about our mock draft picks. So we'll be talking about the NFL draft that's coming up. Big names out there. Great teams available in the first pick. Who has the first pick, Matt? Is it the Jets? No, not the Jets.
First pick. Unfortunately, the Jets were able to walk away with one win last year, so the Jacksonville Jaguars slide into that number one pick, and
there you go.
Boy, it's gonna be exciting to see. Hey, Trevor Lawrence is right there. So
definitely,
but,
Trevor Lawrence, first pick. Hopefully, we'll see.
Yep. Just a few things here, Ryan. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been great. I love talking about sports, and who better to do it with than you, Ryan? So thanks for having me on, and I hope you guys were able to get some cool insight from us. Look forward to holding these shows in the near future. Super excited to talk about the upcoming draft. There's a lot of young players out there, super talented. Just can't wait to see them in uniform suiting up here in the 2021 season coming up.
Perfect. Yeah. Big thank you again, Matt. And then for everyone who is listening or watching, hit the thumbs up down below. Just let us know if we did well. And if you have any suggestions at all whatsoever, make sure to leave a review or a comment down below on YouTube. Let us know what type of topics all of you want to listen to. And for now, that is all for today. This podcast may be uploaded to Spotify and Apple Podcasts in the future, but as of now, it will be on YouTube for sure. So thank you all for listening and watching. Have a good night. Have a good rest of your day. We'll see you next week. I'm Ryan Lainez.
And I'm Matthew Young.
And we'll see you on the next podcast. Bye, everybody.
See you guys. Stay safe out there.